Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is LCOBMW. I am Glenn McGowan. Today we're going to be working on the C3 drift car, which is that beautiful blue 73 Corvette behind me. I'm going to be hooking up my hydro handbrake today. Probably going to be doing this in two separate phases. Phase one, we're going to make a mount for this. I'm going to start with a piece of flat stock, some 3/16 here. I'm going to make a flat mount to bolt that onto, and I'm going to take that mount over, find a location in the car where I feel that the handbrake's going to work the best, and then from there, take some measurements, try to come up with an idea how I'm going to mount that to the fiberglass tunnel. So the Corvettes are fiberglass, if you didn't know, and this is going to be a metal bracket. So I'm going to come up with a creative way to mount this to the car without cutting up the car or anything like that. I am going to keep the thing somewhat stock appearance-wise, so I want to make something that I can kind of bolt on and off if I want to. If I ever want to take this out of the car, there won't be like some ugly hole or a bunch of screws and wood and all sorts of ghetto stuff making this thing happen. So I want to do a kind of nice, cool custom piece for it that can bolt in and out if necessary. So that's going to be step one with this handbrake setup. The second part is going to be plumbing. So I don't know how long this is going to take me today. Since I'm hand making it from scratch, it's probably going to take a little bit longer than I'd like, but the second part of this will be all the plumbing, hooking up the brake line from this to the calipers. I've been working on an idea, instead of cutting the brake lines that are already there and splicing these in, which a lot of people do, which is nothing's wrong with that. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing a second set of rear calipers on the car. As of now, they don't really make anything that's bolted up without spending thousands of dollars. So I'm gonna have to take some measurements and work on a future design for that. But I did come up with a way to run a second type of line to these calipers, which I'll get into. I don't want to give too much away, but this might be an easier approach instead of splicing into the lines. So I can take this off down the line and hook up another set of calipers. So that is the plan, but we'll see how this kind of unfolds as we get into it. So I'm gonna start right now with this bracket, take some measurements, cut a piece of metal, get it in the car, and figure out what we're gonna do next. This week's video is brought to you by LCOBMW.com. Shop our site for Corvette performance parts. We now have our new D.I.Y Cat Delete pipes back in stock, our new test pipes, and we now have a new version of our hose kit available. This is for 88 to 91. This includes a fitting that you can hook your hose directly up to the hose that's on your car on the firewall. So check out the link in the description or visit LCOBMW.com. So I took some measurements from the bolt holes here and then the length of this main piece here, the body of this. So I transferred them to this piece of steel here, and I have everything marked out where my holes are gonna go. So I'm gonna drill these, cut this out, bolt this to the actual handbrake, and then take it over to the car. So before I cut this, just a little reminder that like you don't need a full metal shop to make stuff like this. I have like a Sawzall, a freaking Ryobi drill. I have a MIG welder from Harbor Freight. So just basic stuff like that, you can pretty much make anything. Obviously it's a little bit harder work drilling your own holes and making your own edges. You know, I have a belt sander too. So besides those little things that I got from Harbor Freight essentially for these little metalwork projects that I do from time to time, you don't really need a lot of stuff to make something look kind of cool. All right, so bracket's done. So I'm gonna bolt this to here. Got some 5/16 bolts. All right, let's go find its home. All right, so I got console up, my arm messed up, and I'm thinking about something right in here like this. So it's kind of right by where the shifter is. I took some like measurements of like the 69 where the 4-speed shifter is on that, and I kind of put this in there to get a reference of like where it would fit if you're shifting, not too far forward, not too far back. So roughly here is kind of where I'm going to put this. I'm going to have to pull up this handle and get rid of this. The good news is it doesn't work anyway, so that's out of here. Don't be too alarmed with this giant wire nest here. I'm surprised it hasn't caught fire yet, but I'll probably try to clean this up a little bit just to, you know, keep it from burning the car to the ground once I'm done. So I'm gonna get this up now, and then I'll start coming up with some sort of bracket to attach it to here. I think I'm gonna actually lift this up like an inch too. So we'll see. Okay, so e-brake handle's out, and I got a little area cleared out here. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. So right in here, I'm going to remove this wire harness retainer thing here. I'm gonna drill out those or cut those out. I'm gonna just cut off this ear here, and I'm going to have that roughly like that. There, we can get an idea what that'll look like there. But once I get this a little bit flatter in here, I'm gonna make an adapter plate that kind of fits down in here, and then we'll figure out how we're gonna attach that here. Do you think this kind of stuff makes Corvette purists cringe when I like take a saw and just start cutting pieces of this thing off? So I just made a cardboard template of my original metal bracket that I made. I have this area cleared out here, and I'm going to show you kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. So I have that down there like this, which is essentially this, and just so I can mark off where I have to cut to make this thing fit a little bit better. And that outline there is the actual bottom of the handbrake there, like that. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to put rib nuts in the floor here, here, and then I'm going to extend this bracket back here and 90 down to these two bolts here. So you'll bolt the bracket here, and then you'll sit the handbrake down on top and run the bolts down from the top of the handbrake down to the rib nuts on the floor. So the bracket will bolt up here, and the handbrake will bolt the top of the bracket and sandwich it to the floor. So it'll essentially look like that there, and that should give me plenty of room to shift and not bang it or accidentally pull it when I'm banging fourth gear. It should give me plenty of room. Now I got this lower bracket made here, got it bolted in place, and this is where this top bracket's going to mount. And as you can see, there's a giant gap in here. So I guess the easy thing would be to make a template, make a little piece that fits in here, and weld here, weld here. But I think I'm going to do the right thing here, try to make it a little bit better, and then just kind of mark this so it's just one piece that goes on an angle here over to here, and then I'll just re-drill the holes in this new piece. So this will bolt here and then bolt down in here. Alright, so I got this top plate cut down here. It looks actually pretty good. It actually looks like I kind of know what I'm doing, kind of. So I'm going to, at this point, clean up this metal. I'm going to drag the welder over here, just kind of tack this in place, and then unbolt it, weld it, and then bring it in, and then transfer these holes to the floor to put my thread certs in. Alright, let me know if this thing catches on fire. back in the car, I got the bracket bolted back in, and I have these small holes here, and I'm going to use my punch here, and I'm going to mark where I'm going to drill for my thread certs. Take this back off. My holes are drilled out now. I have my rib nuts installed in the holes, and I have my tool here. I'm going to clamp these things down. All right, here's a close-up view of those installed there. There's one there, and then one there. So now, this will bolt here, and then those two spots there. And it'll go through the handbrake, through the bracket, and bolt it right to the floor. So now I'm just gonna drill out these holes a little bigger, set everything in place, make sure everything fits perfectly, and I can paint this thing. So the good news is it fits. So everything lines up nicely, bolts up. So what I'm going to do now is just go down my original route and mark off the areas that needed to be trimmed down, and I'll put my handle on here, and I'm going to trim back here along the handle so it's a little bit nicer so it doesn't stick out all nasty like that. So cut these pieces off and then get this thing painted and put it in with a handle. Bracket's done. See there, nothing fancy, but it'll work. And I have this. I took the master cylinder off of this because it's kind of hard to get to that back bolt with that on there. So I just unbolted it from the sides here. So I'm going to just get this lined up here, go sit it in the car, run the bolts through it, bolt it in place, and we'll see what we got. As you can see, clean up in here a little bit. Just flat blacked all this here. It's a lot of just surface rust on these parts. All right, now it's bolted in. I'm gonna bolt this back up here. All right, so I got it installed here, got my wheel back on it. So it looks like it's gonna work out pretty good. It's like pretty close to where the shifter's gonna be. So kind of happy with the way it sits, I guess. I mean, we'll find out. It seems like it's not gonna be in the way. I don't think I'm gonna be bumping it or grabbing it by accident. Plenty of room for a passenger sitting here too, which is nice. And the master cylinder lid acts as a nice little armrest. So that's a good thing. Give you an up close shot here. All right, so you can see the handle, and that's roughly where the shifter will go, like that. So that's there, nice and close. So that turned out pretty good. I think it looks pretty nice. Another just look around so you can kind of get a better idea where it's sitting in the car. Okay, so I guess that's kind of the easy part done so far. So the next thing we got to do is get all the plumbing ran back to the rear calipers. I got a little trick up my sleeve for the rear calipers, which I'll get to next week when we get into that. So pretty happy with the way it turned out. I think it looks good. I think it's going to work well where it's sitting. So one thing checked off the list. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Thanks for watching.